If you find this show informative or funny, you should tell your friends, your family. You got fingers. You got fingers. You got fingers. You got fingers. Come on.
5 different shows.
5 different shows.
5 days a week.
5 days a week. 5 different topics. 5 different minutes. You got fingers. You got fingers. You got fingers. Ow! You got fingers. Fingered by Randy and Jason.
So we got Indiana Jones news for once.
Indiana Jones. We used to do a show about that.
Yeah, we have another podcast called Keeping Up with the Joneses for MakingIndy.net. And Randy and I were talking recently, and with the release date of Indiana Jones 5 being pushed back, and obviously news is going to be sparse, I think we're going to cover the micro Indiana Jones news here when it's relevant, and then as Indy 5 heats up, then we'll move over to the other show, so Finger doesn't become an Indiana Jones centric podcast, but it's not.
But for right now,
Right now?
fingering Indiana Jones.
Yeah, right now we're going to put our finger on Indiana Jones.
All right, let's do it. What do we got?
No, okay, so a couple days ago, a press release went up on StarWars.com, and that used to read, Indiana Jones 5 is out July 19, 2019. No. The new Indiana Jones has changed release dates, and the film is being pushed back a little bit. The update on StarWars.com says, in addition, the 5th chapter of the Indiana Jones series is now confirmed for July 10th, 2020 release. Both Steven Spielberg, director of every Indiana Jones film, and Harrison Ford will return. So, yeah.
Got the group back together.
But not until 2020 now. We were looking at a 2019 release date, and it was looking like it was going to be a little closer, and now it's kind of, I mean, it's not that far, but it's far.
Not, but if you can, my first impression was, really? Do you really want to wait that much longer? Not that people, I mean,
because Harrison Ford is old as shit. Just
he's
say
old
it,
as
Randy.
shit, but not that he won't be alive, but I know he likes flying.
Yeah. He crashes more than a terrorist.
He's wow.
Right?
It's true though. You can't deny it. Like
Yeah.
he is a sanctioned terrorist,
Right.
basically.
Yeah. Fly, yes. Land, no.
No, not so much. But the longer you wait, I feel like it's diminishing returns on his performance, even just because he is getting older. I want this to happen as soon as possible,
Right.
and I don't want him to be 85 when it happens.
Yeah. I mean, Harrison Ford could still beat everybody's ass in this room at 85. I mean,
Oh yeah, I'm not arguing whether I can take him.
But yeah, you can't. But I'm with you. I mean, on one hand, I don't think he could look much older than he already looked. So on one hand, I'm like, yeah, it kind of doesn't matter. But on the other hand, I do want to see Indiana Jones move forward down the road.
Right.
And I'm curious to see if this delay is going to facilitate that more. You know, like there's been all kinds of rumors, like Bradley Cooper was going to take over Indiana Jones, which there was the other rumor. It was Jurassic World?
Yeah, that guy.
That guy. We can't remember names of famous people because we don't care about famous people enough.
You know, he's the guy.
You know,
He's on that show that was kind of like The Office, but it wasn't The Office.
yeah, it was on Parks and Rec,
Yeah.
and he was the guy. He was the guardian. He was the guardian of the galaxy. Mm-hmm. And then, but anyways, so. There's a chance, you know, I've always felt like the easiest thing to do would be to do the, you know, Indiana Jones usually have that little opening chapter.
Right.
Put the new Indy in there, man. Have it, and then have
Set
it
it
flash.
up right there.
Yeah, and then have it go forward, and that would be like his first appearance. Then when we get the movie with that guy, it doesn't feel so weird because he's already kind of been coexisting with Ford as Indy.
Right.
And, you
the
know,
River Phoenix style.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that was the original plan for the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, was
Right.
to have River Phoenix be on the television show, but he wasn't that interested. So
Plus, he likes to party.
yeah, at the party, a little too hard.
Man, this is true.
Yeah, but you know, when that time comes, people are going to act like it's the first time it's ever happened. there's been 5 people who played Indiana Jones and through the various incarnations, you know.
But as far as the mainstream's concerned, it's going to be the first time for them.
Yeah, and they're going to forget River Phoenix immediately.
Yeah,
too.
probably. Yeah.
Even though it's already happened. But, yeah, so, you know, it's going to be a weird kind of thing to go forward without it being George Lucas. And George Lucas is one of those kind of players in it where you clearly don't want to, I mean, he created the character for the most part, but you don't want to overstate his importance. Like when they were looking for the MacGuffin, which is what he's usually, you know, and if you don't know what a MacGuffin is, the MacGuffin is the thing that they're chasing after in a movie, generally speaking. And what it is almost not important. It's just that it motivates the story to move forward and faster. George Lucas is usually like credited with that. But when you read the really excellent John W. Rinsler book on the making of the Indiana Jones films, it's all 4 of them in that book. You see that like his personal assistant or his secretary was the one who was like going out and finding this stuff and then presenting it to him.
Right.
So it wasn't like he was in the library like doing that shit hands down, like going through the books and I have 120. Which one am I going to pick?
Which artifact will I pick?
He had research assistants that were pretty much bringing him the stuff, and then he was looking. Yeah,
no, that's not his job.
Of course,
him to be doing that. That's crazy.
Right. But it's going to be weird to not have one with George.
Regardless if George Lucas is responsible for it or not, I kind of feel like always having him is good for like that genre piece kind of thing. Like he's able to distill like that feeling that it has that time to it.
Right.
There's like a wholesome kind of like quality to it that I feel he's kind of responsible for.
Yeah. He definitely has a reverence and a childhood nostalgia for the stuff that they're touching on. That it's like if J.J. Abrams came in and directed, he could try, but it wouldn't be the same. Yeah,
and that's my one concern with not having Lucas in it is that you might lose that kind of that timely feeling that those films have. Yeah. I mean, even the 4th Indiana Jones film, which I think is mostly controversial because it's newer, or it came out in post-internet, if you will. Right.
You know, I really don't think that movie is any worse as a film. Not as your favorite, or I'm not saying that kind of stuff, but then like Temple of Doom. I kind of really see it as flawed of a movie as Temple of Doom. Mm-hmm. And some days Temple of Doom's one of my favorite movies of all time. So, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that as like a slight to either of them. That's what I'm trying to say.
Neither one of them are any Last Crusade, though.
No, Last Crusade is my favorite.
It's the best one.
Yeah. I mean, Raiders is hands down the best constructed film. Looks like Empire Strikes Back is the best constructed Star Wars film. But
Last Crusade is the most fun to watch, hands down.
Yeah, you can watch that one over and over. I mean, I can anyway. Sean Connery's stuff, and it's great.
Yeah.
Anyways, so if you want to, we'll just do like a kind of a brief kind of rundown of like kind of what's been up. And some of this might not be as relevant now with the news that we just got, you know, what they just put out there. In the press release, they didn't drop who the writer was, for instance.
Okay.
And on these kind of movies, there's usually a lot of writers. And so I imagine that Indy 5 is going to have at least 5 writers, probably. When all
right, yeah.
Done, you know.
That's how it's done now.
Collider spoke to David Coop about his work on the new Indiana Jones film recently. And he says, when Indy 5 was announced, Lucas's name was nowhere to be found. Spielberg subsequently said that Lucas would serve as executive producer on the film. But in speaking with Cope, the screenwriter revealed that Lucas is not involved in the story of Indiana Jones 5 at all. He says, he's not. To my knowledge, I've had no contact with him. So Cope's writing or has written something for Indiana Jones 5 and hasn't heard a thing from George Lucas. And George Lucas, if you don't follow our Star Wars podcast, has a tumultuous relationship with Disney, who now own Indiana Jones.
Right.
And it's, at one point he called them white slavers. But then he showed it last week. We saw him at Star Wars Celebration. He actually showed up to Star Wars Celebration and was down to talk about Star Wars at that event. Maybe he was just like, this is for the fans, and this is about Carrie Fisher having passed.
That's what I'm thinking.
And, you know what I mean?
More likely.
Getting the band back together one last time.
Yeah, if it wasn't the 40th anniversary, it wasn't that. I don't know if we would have necessarily seen him there.
Right. But I have to admit, when I sat through that panel, I did wonder, is this working because of his friendship with Kathleen Kennedy, which is probably part of it too?
That has probably a little to do with it.
And is it because of Indiana Jones? But then, once again, we have the press release, if you will.
If George was there, it might just be a problem. He might just be making like little quips and stuff.
Yeah.
How about we name it Indiana Jones and the White Slavers? And they're like, God damn it, George.
How about we call this one Indiana Jones 5? Indiana Jones 5. Yeah, Indiana Jones and the 5 slave children who make Bob Eggers trash he sells.
It's all about whips and explosions. That's what you guys do, right?
But yeah, so he says he has no knowledge of him working on the film at all. And, you know, the original thing said that he would be an executive producer.
Right.
And there was even a quote from Spielberg that I have in here. And Spielberg says, like, do it without George? That would be nuts. Like, clearly that they're going to go through. So, you know, one of the things about Indiana Jones is that initially when they made up the deal to do Indiana Jones, knowing that it might spawn a franchise as Star Wars had just been huge and with Spielberg attached and stuff, Ford goes in and gets a 5-picture deal.
Yeah.
That, like, I don't even know if that even expires. So there was always going to be 5 Indiana Jones pictures with him, or they'd have to pay him for it even if he wasn't in it.
Right.
And then he has so much control of a part of the franchise in terms of the money over those first 5 pictures that he would be insane to not do it.
Right.
Because I believe I had heard one time that what he made on Indiana Jones 4 on Crystal Skull was like more money than he had made from Star Wars.
Huh.
You know what I mean? Like it was
not that that's a surprise necessarily.
But, yeah, he was like the highest paid actor of that year.
Yeah.
2008, I think.
Right.
So it's a ton of money. So you could bet your ass Harrison Ford's going to make sure that he does that one.
Yeah.
For sure. So people ask me sometimes, they're like, do you think he's by the time they get to it, he's going to fall out, he's going to back out, or it's just going to fall apart without him? And the answer seems to be it can't. Now, where things get interesting is if you watch Indiana Jones 4, which we assume takes place before Indiana Jones 5, sometimes they don't work that way. Sometimes they do. Like, you know, Temple of Doom takes place before Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it's the second film. But Shia LaBeouf is his son. They kind of set it up like maybe he would be the one to take it over and go forward. But if you know anything about Shia LaBeouf, his career has been also very tumultuous.
Yeah,
it's been a rough ride
and they kind of distanced themselves from him at a certain point.
Yeah, it
seemed as if they did.
Yeah, it sounds like well, at one point Harrison Ford was asked about Shia LaBeouf,
right?
And he says he's a fucking idiot because he talked bad about the movie. He doesn't like, and then he's actually gone forward since then and said that he doesn't like any of the movies he's done with Steven Spielberg.
Really?
And that would include like the Transformers movies and.
Well, most people don't like those movies.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of with Shia on that one.
No, I mean on one hand you're like but on the other hand it's completely fucked up to disrespect the crew and the people that you worked with, and to think that the movie's only about you. And that you're to allow your opinion of it to tarnish it is not wise. You should be left to other people. It's kind of like, you know what I mean? It's sort of like you don't talk shit about the family outside the family.
Well, yeah, and plus, like when you've been more than willing to take a paycheck for something.
Yeah,
I think it's kind of an unwritten agreement that you won't badmouth it publicly.
Yeah.
You've accepted that payment to kind of just shut up and either say nothing or say good things. I mean, I think that's how the business just generally should work.
And the comments that he's making, I don't think would necessarily be bad if we were like, let's say 20 years out.
Oh yeah.
And it was like now
when
we're looking back.
When you actually have the opportunity to make a significant effect against how much money they've invested in you and the film, then yeah, you shouldn't be able to just talk freely about it. I fucking hate it.
So he says that he feels like he let audiences down.
Oh yeah, but it has nothing to do with the movie.
He says, I have a relationship with Steven that supersedes our business work. And believe me, I talk to him often enough to know that I'm not out of line. And I would never disrespect the man. But when you drop the ball, you drop the ball. So that's what he said, you know. So I mean, yeah, and Spielberg has done stuff not unlike this in his career, though. Like when it came time to announce Last Crusade, he pretty much said the same thing about dropping the ball with Temple of Doom.
Right.
He felt that.
That's different. That's Steven Spielberg.
But that's he's the director.
He's the man who's
he was
probably
responsible.
He's the face most responsible for it, and it's pretty much his work, so he can say those things. Shia LaBeouf, no.
And then in Variety, it says he thought Spielberg would be his ticket to a big screen legacy. He says, quote, "You get there and you realize you're not meeting the Spielberg you dream of." He says, "You're meeting a different Spielberg who's in a different stage in his career. He's less a director than he's a fucking company." Spielberg declined to comment. I don't know how often he and Spielberg are going to be talking with that kind of shit.
I don't. Them's are fighting words,
right? Right? I mean, obviously this person is not in a good place. He goes on to complain that everything is completely planned out in a Spielberg film, down to the time you have to say your lines. It sounds like a tight production Spielberg has cultivated over the years, and it's something that LaBeouf finds less inspiring on set. Quote, he doesn't consider the sequel a success despite its worldwide gross of nearly $800 million. I prepped for a year and a half, and then the movie comes out, and it's your fault. That shit hurt bad.
You're a fucking actor, dude. I don't know what to tell you, man.
But I mean, the thing about it is, like, I've seen that movie, and you've seen that movie, and I can tell you that there really isn't anything better or worse he could have done as Mutt within the parameters of the script that he was given and what's to happen. I mean, if CGI monkeys like make you wet your bed, nothing. What was he supposed to do? Bring live monkeys on set and swing with them? You know, I mean, like that is one of the moments that people consider to be like the movie breaking moment for them, and that's his sequence. That was his event. But when he's sword fighting with Kate Blanchett on the Jeep, that shit's cool, man. Like, you know what I mean? His scenes of interactions with Ford, not bad at all. Like when you actually just like look at them, you know, when he's some kind of teacher, part-time, great moments. They're not bad. I don't really know if this guy's seen an Indiana Jones movie, because he's acting like he's in an Indiana Jones movie. And the acting in Indiana Jones movies doesn't really require you to do anything other than deliver those lines with the sense of brevity and fun. Yeah. And for the most part, that's how it goes. So, it's kind of weird. But anyways, he tells NME, you get to monkey swinging and things like that, and you could blame it on the writer and you could blame it on Steven, but the actor's job is to make it come alive and make it work, and I couldn't, so that's my fault. If you look at the sequence, it has nothing to do with it. Yeah,
literally, he is probably the least important part of that scene.
Yeah. So, and then sometime ago, Harrison Ford commented to Details about it. This is the quote I had. I think he was a fucking idiot. As an actor, I think it's my obligation to support the film without making a complete ass of myself. Yes. Shia is ambitious, attentive, and talented, and he's learning how to deal with the situation, which is very unique and difficult. So, it kind of...
Again, that kind of just backs up what we're saying. It's one thing to be ambitious, but understand the role you've decided to be in. You've decided you're going to be an actor and be paid a ridiculous amount to do basically fucking nothing. Yeah. To make pretend. So if your big gripe is that you had to fucking take the flack from people on the internet because the movie wasn't critically praised the way you want it, that's your fucking job, dude. Deal with it. Yeah, right.
It's true. I mean, he makes more money than I'm ever going to see in my entire life. Yeah. So, go be an artist. Yeah. So anyways, my guess is that we're going to see a report card or something on Indy's desk. And we're like, well, Mutt went to college. You know what I mean? That's my guess. I mean, it does. I
think what's going to happen is Kylo Ren's going to kill Mutt.
Kylo Ren's going to show up.
Right in his gut. Throw him down a shaft.
Yeah, and then so to go back to the Lucas thing one last time, during the BFG stuff, I have a little quote I pulled up, and he says, George is going to be an executive producer on it with me. I would never make an Indiana Jones film without George. That'd be insane. But I got a feeling that George is going to be collecting the executive producer's check without really doing
probably
much
regardless,
other than a set visit.
And George isn't going to be like, I don't see their relationship. Obviously, it's just a very surface level understanding of the relationship.
Right.
Being like, oh, no, don't do this. They're paying you a lot, but don't do it.
Yeah.
I think George Lucas is going to be like, hey, we built this together. Like, go ahead. Cash in, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And when you look at what Lucas is doing with his career, if he does participate, it's probably going to be to go and maybe get a huge endowment from Disney for that Lucas Museum that's coming to.
Right, yeah.
Something like that. That would probably be the angle if they were going to hook him in.
Yeah.
But, yeah, there was a Hollywood Reporter had an article during the BFG era, too, which is, about 6-7 months ago now? I don't know, maybe longer. It says he'll direct the 5th Indiana Jones movie for Disney. Spielberg says he's super excited about the movie, dated for July 2019, which is now not correct.
Yep.
I think this one is straight down the pike for the fans, is what Spielberg says.
Okay.
He won't reveal plot details except this. The one thing I will tell you is I'm not killing off Harrison Ford at the end of it.
Kylo's doing it.
Kylo's going to do it. Yeah, so that's pretty much all we know is that Indiana Jones won't die. And when that came out, a lot of people were like, well, you fucking ruined that one, Spielberg. But I'm
like, what? Do you even like this character?
Yeah, no, I mean, after Kylo Ren killing Harrison Ford's Han Solo, I really don't want to see him die.
Right.
We got that in Star Wars. I don't really need it.
Yeah.
I don't need Harrison Ford I don't need. I know in Blade Runner he's probably going to show up and die.
Yeah, exactly.
I just don't need us wrapping up Harrison Ford's life as an actor.
He's going to come back as Jack Ryan and die.
Yeah.
Every role he's ever played that's been significant, he's going to come back and die.
It'll be him when he's the president, and they're just going to assassinate him in a theater. Just like
Harrison Ford just closing the door on all his old jobs.
He just wants to retire where you can't bother him anymore.
Yeah, they're gonna make American Graffiti 2. He's gonna crash.
Oh, they did that.
They did?
They did more American Graffiti, and it was terrible.
Was it called More American Graffiti?
It was called More American
That's
Graffiti.
A good name,
I don't think what was his name in that? Bob Alpha?
I think so.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he was in it though. I don't remember it, but yeah. But so Indiana Jones 5 will be coming in July of 2020. We have some time.
I'm interested to talk about it when we have like actual details. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, and the painful part about it is I don't think that's going to happen until about mid 2019.
Yeah,
probably. Because casting and stuff like that. That they're not going to be casting like super in advance for it. I doubt. I think it'll be one of those things like as they're making the movie, they start getting people in and stuff.
At this point, we're kind of conditioned not to have anything to talk about with Indiana Jones. It's not like I'm expecting it all the time. So it's always a nice surprise.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, all right. Excellent.
That's it for our first Indiana Jones episode, or our Keeping Up with the Joneses segment on Fingered.
If you have a question for Fingered by Randy and Jason, send questions or topic suggestions to fingeredpodcast@gmail.com. You can get Fingered by Randy and Jason 5 days a week on either iTunes, Google Play, or SoundCloud. And you can follow us on social media. Twitter, you can find us at Fingered Podcast, Facebook.com/Fingered Podcast. Make sure to use the hashtag #GetFingered. And have you got fingered by Randy and Jason? Leave an awesome 5-star review on iTunes or Google Play. Until the next time you get fingered.